You wanted the best. You've got the best podcast. The hottest podcast in the world. The Chris Voss Show, the preeminent podcast with guests so smart you may experience serious brain bleed. The CEOs, authors, thought leaders, visionaries, and motivators. Get ready. Strap yourself in. Keep your hands, arms, and legs inside the vehicle at all times, because you're about to go on a monster education roller coaster with your brain. Now, here's your host, Chris Voss.
Chris Voss here from the ChrisVossShow.com. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There are these things that makes it official. Welcome to the big show. We certainly appreciate it. As always, the Chris Voss Show is a family that loves you, but doesn't judge you, at least not as harshly as your mom, because she's been disappointed in you ever since. But you know what? If you refer to the show, go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss on the TikTok, and Chris Voss, Facebook.com. You should be able to get maybe on her good side. Or not. Give her my number. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing young man we're going to be talking to on the show. Give her my number. The ramble every time. Anyway, guys, we have an amazing young man on the show. He's going to be talking to us about his entrepreneurial journey, some of the offerings he does, and how he helps attorneys. Everybody needs help these days. Dennis Meador is on the show with us today. We're going to be talking to him about his insights, his business, and what he's built, and how he does it. He is a bit of an outlier. He started his first company at 14 years old. He beat me by 4. Jeez. He's been an entrepreneur for the majority of his life. Once you get that drug, it's hard to get rid of it. In his early 20s, he discovered what he really loved about being an entrepreneur was working with other businesses, and that ultimately led to years working with attorneys. He spent the next 20 years in that capacity, helping attorneys grow their practices and advising them in other areas. About a year ago, the idea of the Legal Podcast Network came to him. The more this idea blossomed in his mind, the more excited he got about it. As he talked to attorneys, he consistently heard, "Do you guys do podcasts?" Once he fully formed everything in his head, he decided late 2023 to launch what he had envisioned. One of the things Dennis sees as important for attorneys, especially those in smaller practices, is the establishment of authority. I use a big stick for that. To get ahead, they must not become another run-of-the-mill attorney with generic content and verbiage that enables their attorneys to show people their expertise and how they can help them. Puts them in a better position with their clients and their ideal profile. Welcome to the show. How are you, Dennis?
Very good. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Thanks for coming. We really appreciate it. Give us your .coms. Where do you want people to find out more about you on the interwebs?
Very simply, the Ohio State University, the legalpodcastnetwork.com. That's got testimonials, that's got sample shows, that's got stories of a great team that I have the privilege of being a part of. And so it just puts you in a position where you can understand pretty much everything we do, how we do it, and how it could be a benefit to you.
There you go. The Legal Podcast Network. So is it specifically only for attorneys? Do I have that right?
Well, right now we have 2 main groups of people we serve: attorneys and then people who serve attorneys. Okay. Now we are open to working with other verticals, but this is the vertical I know. This is, but we'll have dentists or chiros or whatever. Hey, can you do this for me? Absolutely, we can help you, and that's part of our eventual expansion. But for right now, we really are drilling down and focused on attorneys.
So give us an overview of how this works. What do you do for attorneys?
Very simply, what we're trying to do is help them differentiate themselves in their marketplace. The legal industry has become vastly commoditized, especially because of the internet. You've got directories, you've got Google just listing A to Z. And so as an attorney, it used to be, you could write your hourly. You could, I make $500 an hour. And people are like, I guess that's what that attorney makes. But now they call them up and they're like, well, what is your rate? Oh, 500. Well, that guy said 350 and that guy said 325. And so there's been a huge commoditization of the industry. On top of that, there's been a number of large players who are then able to come in. And because you have so many small law practices, and that's who we focus on working with, then a big firm can come in and they can outspend in the marketplace. and kind of put themselves in a dominant position very quickly. So what we do is we tell attorneys, listen, you got two choices. You can outspend your competition, which isn't likely to happen because they're spending more per month on marketing than your whole practice makes in a year, or you can outposition the competition. And that's what we help them do, is through thought leadership, through authoritative positioning, we help them set themselves apart from the myriad of other attorneys that are in their marketplace. How do we do that? Mm-hmm. Through podcasting. Podcasting is really the means to an end. So they come to us, and we only work with one kind of attorney per marketplace. So, for example, Chicagoland, Lake County, Cook County, we have one criminal defense attorney that we work with in those two counties. Mm-hmm. One criminal defense attorney. We do their show. We then take that show, and it's usually about a 20-minute show, 7 to 10 questions if they're answered. They get the questions ahead of time. The questions are based off of their ideal client profiles, the types of cases they'd like to be taking on more of. We have a host that we provide. The host asks the questions. It's all branded to them, kind of like how your show is. Mm-hmm. And then we take that 20 minutes. We create a audio podcast on about 20 different networks. We create a video podcast for YouTube and different networks in different places. We then take and we create the marketing on top of it. So we make probably per episode about 10 shorts or reels, and we'll put that on all their different networks. We also are now in the process of beginning to create audiograms, kind of the little videos that show the audio. And then we also create content for their website out of it. So an attorney can give us 30 minutes, and out of that, we can create about 23 pieces of content.
Oh, wow.
Can last them an entire month's worth of marketing. That's our base program. And then from there, they could do twice a month, and now they're showing up twice a day, 7 days a week. We're creating, essentially we're creating 60 pieces of content with 2 shows. And then if they do a weekly show, now we're posting 3 times a day. We're creating 95 pieces of content per month. So taking that content, positioning them, it helps them with showing up for the right questions to the right people to then cultivate a higher conversion and a better quality client.
I love it. So it's very turnkey for the attorney, where they don't have to buy all the stuff. They don't have to set up the, all the work that's involved in the back end of doing a podcast and cutting it up and publishing on YouTube and stuff. They just show up, answer the questions, and they end up looking like $1 million, right?
Exactly. That's the point. If there's anything I've learned about working with businesses, and especially like business owners that are active in the businesses, the more time you can save them with a quality product, the higher likelihood you have of success. And so we're always trying to do things better. We're always trying to do them faster, and we're always trying to do them with much less friction for our clients.
Sounds like you're using Bionics and the $6 Million Man. We can make them better. I grew up in the 70s. That's where that comes from. For you young people, the Gen Zers, the 70s were a time of never mind. Anyway, so I love this process because you and I are both in podcasting. We know how hard this is to, it's so many people just approach this business and they're just like, it can't be that hard. You just get a microphone and you just press record and you're done. Yeah. And it's much harder than that. That's why there's 1 million zombie podcasts that are out there. I think last I heard there was like 500,000 dead zombie podcasts on what's the free service that Spotify owns? They bought. I can't remember. It's like a cheapo service. But yeah, hosting service. But I mean, so many of these podcasts, they really don't get traction. You need someone to make you look good. I mean, we get, I don't know, about a couple hundred freaking applications to the show every month on the Chris Voss Show, and we go look at their appearances when they appear at other places. And it just makes our head spin sometimes. Like, number one, some people think they're more interesting than they are, which is probably me too as well. I'm throwing some rocks. I don't think I'm that great. But also, the delivery, the energy, and then sometimes the host is bad too, like I am. The host is awful. They ask horrible questions. They don't really get to the point. They'll out-talk the client sometimes. So having there's basically a lot of moving parts to producing and doing a podcast. And then even after it's done, there's the post-editing. You've got to run it through a lot of compressions and, try and make it sound like radio, fix any sort of issues or whatever, maybe the client or the host said something that maybe just doesn't fit the brand. So there's a lot of work that goes into it. It looks like you have like a level 1 advisor, level 2 expert package, level 3 authority package, and level 4 thought leader package. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the breakdown of how those differ?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we keep it super simple. First of all, we did get rid of that lowest level. It essentially was just us doing the podcast without doing the marketing behind it. And we had a handful of clients on it, but none of them were happy. None of them were successful. None of them did their own marketing, and they expected things to happen more. And so we were just like, you know what? We're paid the least and we're stressed the most over these people. So we're not really offering this anymore. But very, very simply, what we do is if you want to do one show a month, you're signing up for 4 months. That means we need 2 hours of your time over the 4 months to release one episode each month.
Really?
That is our base program. Now, twice a month, that means we need 4 hours over the 4 months, 2 hours twice. And we're releasing 2 episodes per month. With the entry level, we're doing about 20 posts a month, basically every business day. With the second level, twice a month, we're now doing 2 posts per day, 60 posts per month, because now we're doing 7 days a week. We are agnostic. It could be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Blue Sky. We don't care. We want people to see and hear our clients' content. And so we do that. And then on the authority level, it's a show goes out every week. Now they've got 3 pieces of content going out every day across all the different channels. Plus they have a full show going out every week. Plus with every show, we take that transcript, we edit it and format it into FAQ content for their website. So we're just, helping them we build them a YouTube channel. We're helping them with showing up with video, short video, long video, content for their website. Social media, it's kind of just an all-in-one sort of package. We're not saying that if you use us, you don't have to use anything else. But if you only used us, you wouldn't be like hurting as if you used something else that had a lot less volume to it.
Wow. There you go. Well, that can really help. So they have the different packages they can take and utilize, and so really like 2 hours, 4 hours. That's not a lot of time. You don't have to deal with any of the brain damage. Do they show up in a studio setting, or is it done like we were doing right now, like over StreamYard or Zoom or some sort of thing?
It's over StreamYard. We started with Riverside, and there's just some. Really what we found is some attorneys have old computers, and when they have those old computers, it just doesn't process right for the way that Riverside depends so much on those recordings, whereas StreamYard depends more on the stream itself and does still do those backup recordings, which are great to have. But so we sort of switched over to that. And what we do is we coach them. We have here's an entry level of what you need for a microphone. We teach them you need good background, good microphone, good camera, and good lighting. And so with those 4 things, pretty much, it's okay to look like you're just sitting across the desk from the attorney. A lot of our podcasts kind of look like that, like you're literally just sitting across the desk from the attorney. But that's what we want, because these people are, they're looking, they have a high asset divorce. They want to know what's going to happen to their second home during a divorce. Yeah. So now they find this little, 5-minute clip from a 20-minute podcast. They listen to the clip, they watch the podcast, they go to the website, they see the FAQs, they see other videos. Now they call the attorney, and the attorney has gone past the and it's just the trust. And so with a commoditized industry where the first question people ask most attorneys is, how much? It now becomes, how can I work with you? And that's a vastly different question.
Definitely. And setting up podcasts is one of the great things to do, and of course host it. Do you help them on their websites to put like a podcast page on the website, or do you have them set up a separate website for the podcast, or
we do if they give us access,
Mm-hmm.
then we tell them we can set up a page for that. We can set up your FAQ page to have your podcasts that have to do with the answers. So we kind of do a couple of different things. And, you were talking about earlier about how it takes so many, pieces to the puzzle and so much to really produce this stuff.
Yeah.
We have about 32 people on our team, with 3 of them being in sales. So almost 95% or whatever of our team, or over 90% of our team is doing social media, is building shorts and reels, is doing the finished production, is doing the front end production, is doing hosting. There's just so many things that the people, they're doing quality check on videos. There's so many things that our team does in order for us to be able to put out a good product for our client.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of work, and you can't half-ass this sort of thing. It's amazing to me how many people don't treat this like a business that go into podcasting, and some people just think it's easy. It's like, oh, you just tweet on Twitter or something. It's not. I mean, anything of value is complex. I mean, the work we put in the Chris Voss Show, especially after 16 years, is more complex than it's ever been. And It keeps getting more complex. I mean, AI is helping out a lot, but even then, it takes skill to be a good host. I mean, it really does. I spent most of my life growing up watching Johnny Carson. It takes skill to be interesting. It takes skill to live produce on the fly. And so the fact that you provide those hosts that are good at what they do, and they're good at handling different types of clients, different people, and trying to bring the best out. I mean, that's what we try and do on the show. We want our guests to look good. We want to bring them out. I mean, it doesn't help us if our guest looks stupid, so we're not going to treat him that way on the show, or we're not going to
you have this big buildup how you have the greatest minds in the world on the podcast, and I was just like, geez, no pressure.
No pressure, yeah. In fact, we asked the guy who cut that. Originally, it was meant as a joke that we were the greatest podcast, or the whatever it was. It's in the byline, and we had a radio guy do it, the intro, and we told him, we go, the joke was written that we were the greatest podcast ever, and then but not really, or there was some sort of self-effacing joke that rounded it off. And the guy wrote, he sent it back to me, and I go, dude, we're not the greatest podcast in the world. And he goes, it's fucking radio, dude. Just fucking own it, man. I cut it that way on purpose. And I'm like, he's done radio his life. He's like, just fucking run with it. And I was like, okay, all right, well, there you go. But yeah, having
hyperbole.
Yeah, hyperbole sells. But it's the energy too. So I mean, having a good host that can make you look good, I think is a big draw for attorneys that would want to use your service, on top of all the doing the legwork and the grunt work that no one wants to do. And that's why attorneys attorneys bill by the hour. Their time is valuable. That's why they have paralegals to do the paperwork and stuff like that. And so the fact that you've simplified this for them, because they got to go spend all day in court talking to judges and trying to keep clients out of jail, or civil stuff, et cetera, et cetera. What are some other? Well, let's talk about this. So you get your first bug at 14. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey, because I think a lot of people want to hear about that. What was it like doing that at 14? What was it? How'd you get started?
So, I grew up in a situation where there was some struggles financially, especially from 8 to 13. My parents got divorced, and I had to learn very quickly how to not just feed myself, but my sister. And so I learned very young to kind of look around for how to make money. And so moved in with my dad at 13. Now I've got a younger stepbrother, about a year and a half, or 1.5 years younger than me. And I'd had another buddy. My dad stuck me in a private school. They all had money. We didn't have money. We were like living out of like church donation type stuff, where we boxes of food and clothes from their donated pantry type stuff.
Wow.
And so I had a friend tell me, man, I went and shoveled snow, and I lived in Iowa and Illinois during a lot of my formative years of my childhood. And my friend tells me, hey man, I made like $100 shoveling walks. So I go to my brother. I'm like, let's go shovel some walks and we can make some money. And he's like, okay, my friend come. And I was like, sure. So we go and we take turns knocking on doors. And so we're like an hour into this thing, and we've done 2 lawns. We've all made like $15, $20 a piece. We're cold, and I'm the only one that's gotten 2 jobs. So we were taking turns of who would knock. And my brother's like, I don't want to knock. And then his friend, I don't want to knock. And I was like, well, I'll knock. I don't care. So I go up and I asked the lady, I was like, hey, can we shovel your lawn or shovel your walk? And she's like, sure, $20. And I go, well, do you have a 10 and 2 5s? And she goes, yeah, here you go. So she hands me a 10 and 2 5s. I go to both of them and I go, guys, I got a really good idea. They're like, what? I'm like, you guys stay here. You guys shovel down this walk and up this walk here. I'm going to give you both $5. I put $10 in my pocket, and I'm going to go get the next job. So by the time you're finished with this job, you'll just walk down the block and I'll be waiting for you on the next job. And that's what we did.
Wow.
So what I started doing is I started getting the jobs, like every time it snowed, these were my customers and my brother and his friend, and I would collect the money. I would keep half. I would give them both a quarter apiece. And so we did that. And then winter's over. So what do we do now? Oh, mow lawns. So we start mowing lawns. I start going and getting lawn mowing jobs for my brother and his friends. I'm the face of the company. I'm the one knocking on the door, collecting the money. I'm keeping half the money, giving them half the money, whoever does the job. Now it comes fall time. What do we do? So I start getting the paper routes. I own every paper route within walking distance, and I start selling them back to everybody. I collect all the money. They go out, they do the jobs. And now all I do, once or twice a week, go out, collect the money, make sure my customers are happy, go play basketball, go hang out with my friends, pocketing money. I'm buying Jordans. I'm buying Bugle Boy. This is the 80s or early 90s. And that's how I got into business. And I realized very quickly, make a lot more money making it happen than actually doing it.
And exponenting yourself and getting other people to do the grunt work. What do you think made it easy for you? Because it's really hard when you're young to deal with rejection, especially from adults, because it's kind of scary because they usually tower over you. I remember selling, mowing services and other things when I was a kid. I think I started selling papers when I was slinging papers when I was 11. But it is scary. Just to talk to adults was scary. Stranger adults. You're just like, it was scary to talk to my own parents. So what do you feel was the proponent that made it easier for you?
Honestly, that never was an issue for me. From a young age, we were a church family, so I was exposed to, other people, different ages, Sunday school teachers, kids my age. And I never feared that. And then when my parents divorced, my mom, people ask me like, do you have a book or whatever? And I'm like, I know the title of my life story. It's Daddy's a preacher, Mama's a prostitute. And that's the truth. Like literally that's what happened. And so my mom was like dating like heroin dealers, crack dealers, gang leaders. We had 3 drive-bys in our house. And so I was one of those, like, you ever hear the phrase, they make an awful kid, but they're going to make an awesome adult?
Yeah.
I was kind of that kid. Cause like to me, you could be 50 and I would talk to you like you were 15. You could be like, I just didn't have any sort of concept of like, I should be afraid of them because I had been in situations where I really had fear, where I saw abuse and I saw gunshots and you know what I mean? So to me, an adult that answers the door that isn't going to maybe beat me or like shoot at me.
Wow.
Who are they? So I think that allowed me to very quickly, like I said, look out for myself. Like every night, the way that I fed myself from 8 to 13, every night our house, we had a house party. Every morning we would have a huge stack of beer cans. Me and my sister would dump them all out. We'd put them in the bags. We'd carry 4-6 bags and this was nickel deposit in Iowa. And that's how I fed me and my sister for the day, most days.
Oh, wow.
And so like that mind frame, like I don't look at that as like, oh, poor me. Like I look at my life and like I have tattooed on my arm, embrace your journey, because who you are is because of what you've been through. And so although I've had to work through some of the stuff and go into therapy and kind of figure stuff out in my head later in life, I think it made me like, I got married at 19. I pastored a church at 18. I was a youth pastor at 16.
Wow.
I had my first LLC at 18. I was retired for 4 years from 21 to 25. So I was like an old man very young. And then never took a drink of alcohol till I was 36, never smoked weed till I was 40, just totally opposite life. And now here I am, living on an island, chilling, my kids are grown. I just got married last year. We're going to have a child, but I did life very differently. I'm 47 years old. In the last 7 years, I lived in Austin, went out, enjoyed music, had this huge podcast with all the artists and entrepreneurs and musicians, and got to know, I was literally 3 days away from co-hosting Austin Fashion Week with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, wow.
I just have never been afraid to just, put myself out there. It's to me, if I don't ask, the answer's already no anyway. So why not just ask?
Yeah, because I love that. Yeah, you should put that on a shirt or a coffee cup, eh? I love that because, if you don't ask, the answer is no. I love that. It's already no, so you're guaranteeing it, though.
It's 100% upside to ask. That's the way I've always looked at it.
100% upside. I love that, to asking. And so would you say that kind of your experience as a child, they say that necessity is the mother of invention, or survival maybe. A lot of people sometimes start their own companies or try and do their own things because, there's need and necessity. And so like you say, there's, instead of the fear of what you're experiencing in your home life was not as bad as the fear of getting rejected by people. That's the big thing that a lot of people fear in sales is rejection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'd say that it definitely shaped who I was, what I did, how I acted, the fact that, like I said, at 18 years old, I was pastoring people with kids my age. At 20 years old, I was running a division of phone sales in selling advertising in police FOP magazines, and the guys were the age that I'm now, and I was their manager. It was just I've never, to me, when I was young, age is a state of mind. Now that I'm older, age is a state of mind. I really don't care.
Yeah. It's no, the great thing about a no, the way I think I was taught by Zig Ziglar is you're one step closer to a yes. So you kind of think people go, oh, thanks for the no. That means I'm one step closer to, the yes that I'm looking for. So there you go. I don't know. That's one way I always look at it.
I've always been no. Okay. Help me understand why. Give me context. Give me reason. Okay. Have you considered this logical? And this is why I love working with attorneys, by the way. This is why I gravitated towards them, is because with attorneys, it's not an emotional sale. You don't have to manipulate them. You don't have to be if I can get you 5 customers, how much would your life change? That sort of slimy sales approach that it can be out there. To me, I'm just okay, I hear your point, but have you considered this? And what about this? And what if this happened? And then attorneys are one of the few verticals for me where they'll go, that makes sense. Okay, sure. Let's give it a try. Yeah. So that's why I've liked attorneys. It's been one of those verticals that you don't have to manipulate. You don't have to use tactics. You just have honest conversations based on logic, and don't be afraid. Make sure that they treat you the same way that they expect to be treated, and you can do very well with them.
Yeah, it's a good business too, and attorneys are pretty professional folks. As long as you don't. Do you bill them or do they pay up front?
They pay auto pay. So they put their credit card on the contract and we charge them every month.
There you go. I like that. Fun is fun. So anything more we need to talk about what you guys do there at the legalpodcastnetwork.com?
I think ultimately the most important thing, because we were talking about the sheer volume and things like that, but at the end of the day, it's about the presentation of this brand, of these attorneys. For example, my post-production guy, he is based out of LA. He's done production. He's done post-production on a Super Bowl commercial for Doritos. He does production for the NFL, Major League Baseball, Honda, The Economist. he's like the kind of guy that like most people would never have access to. And yet here's this attorney in, Nowheresville, USA, who's trying to get PI cases, auto accident cases. And that's the guy who's making his video look good. And so same thing like with my content director. She's worked with attorneys for 10 years. She's interviewed well over 1,000 of them. So she knows the questions to ask them. She knows how to build a content plan and how to cultivate clients through content. And so it's not just the concept that I really want to get across. It's the team of people that I have the privilege of having on my team that have bought into my vision of what we're trying to do for these businesses.
There you go. Well, it's definitely a need. I'm sure a lot of other industries need that need too as well. Well, give us your final pitch out to people, Dennis, as we go out, and your .com so people can find you on the interwebs.
So final pitch, if you are a lawyer or really any sort of knowledge worker, what sets you apart is who you are between your ears, then you have to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. Over 82% of people solely use the internet to find their attorney. 80% of people would rather watch a video than read an article. And so you need to be where the people are, presenting to them who you truly are. And if you can do that, then you can put yourself in a position to grow your practice either by number of clients or by profitability of clients. The way to find us, our website, I think we mentioned it earlier, thelegalpodcastnetwork.com. If you'd like to link up with me directly, I am on LinkedIn. Been on there 17 years. Haven't really got serious about it till about the last year. But it's Dennis with 2 N's, R, Meador, Meador, like a meadow, but with an R on the end instead of a W, and then Junior. So Dennis R. Meador Jr. Find me on there, connect with me. You can ask me questions directly. I always get people, they'll join me and come into my inbox. Hey, I heard you on this podcast. I say, I got a question about you. Can you help me with this? This is my practice area. Listen, if you know who your client is, or at least you can sort of get to that place with some help, we can help you get to that client. We have clients that, like one example I like to give is an attorney. His whole practice is he works with large companies who want to do their own in-house medical insurance. And that is his entire client base. Wow. So we have guys like that all the way down to the local criminal defense attorney, the local injury attorney, and the ones that we see every day. So, and dentists, any sort of something where you building a relationship before they walk in the door would be an advantage to you. We can help you.
There you go. I love it. And then attorneys can look professional on podcasts. So wonderful service there. Thank you, Dennis, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, my friend.
There you go. Thanks, your audience, for tuning in. Go to goodreads.com/Chris Voss, LinkedIn.com/Chris Voss, Chris Voss 1 on the TikTok and all those crazy places on the internet. Be good to each other. Stay safe. We'll see you next